official hour. We have two petitions here today. You're here on 23, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you folks are the objectors objecting to his request? No. You're here for your own petition?
Yep.
Okay. To the two of you, I would indicate that my name is Michael McHenry. I am the hearing officer. I'll be conducting this hearing today. I'm required to evaluate the respective applications based on the evidence presented today and pursuant to the applicable standards, which we will cover later in the hearing. Based on the evidence, I'll either recommend approval, modified approval, or denial. There will be a record made today of everything that happens, so I'd ask you to keep your voice up, speak clearly, loudly. Don't simply shake your head. The question to ask, answer yes or no if that's the appropriate answer. Based on my recommendation today, this will go to the county board. And when's the next meeting?
Would be on July 18th.
And what time would that be?
7 p.m.
And that's a general meeting. Based on what happens today, you would normally be on the consent agenda. They normally don't pull it off, so you don't really have to go to the meeting. You can find out later what is happening. If I recommend approval, then you simply need a 50% majority vote of the county board members in attendance at that meeting. If I were to deny your request, you would need a 3/4 vote to overturn my recommendation. Mine is simply a recommendation. And there are a few simple rules. We will treat you with respect today. I'd ask that you do the same. I've indicated, please speak clearly. You will be under oath. We're not going to follow the strict rules of evidence. And can I have you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Alan Schultz, S-C-H-U-L-Z.
And Alan, what are you trying to do today?
Raise the garage roof.
I'm sorry, did you want to swear?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's your job.
I'm okay.
Do you want to swear?
You gotta swear me
Do you want to
in.
do your job? Please swear me.
Me?
No?
No,
Me?
because I have to be sworn in.
All right, I'll swear you all in. So, promise to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay. I'm sorry, what are you hoping to do today?
Raise the garage roof to 18 foot.
Okay. And that's an existing garage, is that correct?
That is correct.
You have more than one garage on the property, do you not?
Yes, I do.
Which one of the two would you be raising?
The two-car garage, the one to the north.
Okay. And the one to the south would stay the same?
It would stay the same.
Okay. And for the record, this is the application of Alan R. Schultz and Susan I. Schultz. They are seeking a variation within the R1 single-family residential LN district to allow for a reduction of the side setback from 3 feet 3 inches, I'm sorry, to 3 feet 3 inches instead of the minimum 5 feet from the north lot line. The property consists of 0.45 acres, is located on the west side of Woodlawn Park, adjacent to the intersection of North Woodlawn Park and West Rosedale Avenues. The common street address is 1601 North Woodlawn Park Avenue, McHenry, Illinois, with a tax ID or PIN number of 0925126056. The property is designated single-family residential on the current land use map, and to the north, south, and east would be single-family residential. The Fox River would be to the west. The current zoning is R1 single-family residential LN, and that designation of single-family residential R1 would be applicable to the north, south, east, and again to the west would be the Fox River. The 2030 plan designates this as residential environmentally sensitive area. Municipal plans within 1.5 miles would be Johnsburg no designation, Lake Moore neighborhood residential, McHenry medium density residential. The property is improved with a 2-level brick residence, wood deck, 2 frame garages with an asphalt driveway, although I did see some concrete. And there is a potential flood of record on the northwestern portion of the property. And to my knowledge, there are no pending violations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And You did post your property, is that correct?
That is correct.
And can you describe the street that you're on?
It is a dead-end street. I actually own the street itself. It's deeded to the house,
How did you own the street?
private property.
Okay.
It came with the house.
Okay.
So it is access to the house that is just to the south of me. So they have access back and forth. That is the only house, the only other house that goes on that is accessible from that road.
I'm very impressed that you own the street, but it's not a very nice street, is it?
No, it is not. I do fill potholes every now and then.
And it's a fairly narrow street, is it not?
It is too, yes.
And your property, when was it constructed? Was it 1929?
The house was built in 1929.
And have you done any improvements to the exterior since then?
I have replaced windows and a new roof on the house.
Do you know how old the garages are?
That I do not know.
And what do you intend to do, or what are you hoping to do?
The garage roof is shot and the plywood is rotting, so I have to replace the roof anyhow. There is some structural things I want to fix from the house, from the garage, that I feel needs to be attended to. And in the process of doing that, I feel that this would be the perfect time to raise the garage roof for that purpose.
And what are you currently using the garage for, the one that you intend to improve?
To store, for storage and for our 2 cars.
And do you plan to make any changes to the exterior of the garage?
Yes, we will reside both garages to match.
And will you be closing off any existing openings?
I will probably be closing off and removing the openings and relocating openings,
Okay, and why would you be doing that?
just for light.
You appear to have the oldest garage in your neighborhood, is that correct?
Could be, could be.
You have some very nice homes in the neighborhood and some nice garages. Was your house built before or after the house to the north, if you know? If you don't know, that's fine.
I don't know, I know that the 2 houses north, it was built before mine, but 1929, so I think it was built before the house to the north.
Okay. The garage to the north would appear to have been built after your garage, is
Yes.
that correct? And they were the ones that built fairly close to your,
Yeah, they're within 6 inches of the property line.
okay. How did they get away with that?
I did not research that property. I'm not sure when that was done, but I would assume it was probably under a prior ordinance that allowed them to be closer.
You would agree it appears to be a newer garage to the north?
It appears that way.
He recited it.
Okay. Is there any concern with the closeness of those garages? Anything special that comes into play?
No, from what I can tell, I believe there would still be more than 5 feet between the
Yes.
structures, which is what triggers fire separation requirements, so there should be sufficient space.
So we do meet those requirements, good. Not that it's highly relevant, but did you talk to any of your neighbors about what you wanted to do?
Yes,
And what did they say?
great.
I understand. I'm going to show you some standards that we have to go through. I believe you've answered, or may have answered those on your application. And isn't it true that the particular surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property involved would result in a particular hardship upon the owner, as distinguished as a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out? Isn't that true? I'm looking for a yes.
Yes,
Good answer. And you really are not responsible for the location of the existing structures both on your property and the property to the north, are you?
no,
That was done before you purchased.
that is correct.
Paying attention now, isn't it true that the conditions upon which the application for variation are based are unique to the property for which the variation is sought, and are not generally applicable to other property within the same zoning district. Isn't that true?
That is true.
Isn't it also true that the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized from the property?
That is true.
You're trying to preserve and maintain a structure that you need for your property, correct?
Correct.
Is it also true that the alleged difficulty or hardship is caused by the ordinance and has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property? Isn't that true?
That is true.
And this garage is older and it's in desperate need of repair, correct?
That is correct.
And isn't it true that the granting of the variation will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located?
That is
true?
correct.
And in fact, your neighbor to the north, that garage actually extends closer to the road than yours, does it not?
Yes, it does.
And isn't it also true that the proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, or substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, or increase the danger of fire, or endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the adjacent neighborhood? Isn't that true?
That is true.
And in fact, by improving your property, you could be improving the values of your neighbors, correct?
That is correct.
And we're not dealing with the public street because you own the street, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And isn't it also true that the granting of the variation requested will not confer on you, the applicant, any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land or structure within the same zoning district? Isn't that true?
That is true.
If your neighbors were to have a similar situation and were to make a similar request, would you be in favor of that request and think it should be granted, or would you be opposed to it?
In favor.
And since you're under oath, what do you have to say?
Staff has no concerns with this request. We don't believe it will affect any sightlines. The distance between the neighboring garage is not going to change, so we have no objections.
All right. Anything else that you wish to say?
Not at this time.
I would agree that it will not change the sightlines. The neighbor to the north is more of an impediment, but there's really only two homes south of that particular garage, and it's very clearly a dead end, and the whole neighborhood is a somewhat isolated neighborhood. The only person I saw was someone walking along. There doesn't appear to be much traffic, so I would be in favor of this request.
Thank you.
Can you explain to him what that might mean?
Yes, so staff will draft a report for the county board, a summary basically of the testimony today. And then, as we mentioned, on July 18th, the county board meeting will be held, and after that, you can go ahead and proceed with your permitting if everything's approved.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We're certainly free to leave it. If you could just leave it on the
Yep.
table for the next. That brings us to 24. That might be you guys. You want to step forward?
And I do have a neighbor here with me as well.
Okay. Is he in favor or against?
He's in favor.
So he's a good neighbor.
Yes.
Are we taking him to lunch afterwards?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I have to get back to work for sure.
Okay,
All right,
thank
thanks.
you.
Everybody who's going to testify today, please raise their right hand and be sworn. Do you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Nicely done. And can you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Andrea Gomez, Gomez.
And Angela, where do you live or reside?
Andrea, I'm sorry.
Oh, Andrea. And,
I reside at 5211 East Wonder Lake Road.
and you are the owner of the property that is
Yes.
the subject of this petition. And for the record, can you tell us what you're hoping to do?
I have replaced the existing fence that we did have. And there is currently a 50-50 portion of it due to the variance that I'm requesting. And we'd like to go ahead and finish it with the privacy fence as we have the remaining portion of it.
Okay. And for the record, this is the application of Andrea Gomez. She is the owner of record. The request is a variation within the R1 single-family residential LN district to allow for a reduction in the effective side yard setback to 17 feet instead of the minimum 50 feet from the north property line for a solid fence in the effective street yard. The property consists of approximately .33 acres, is located on the southwest corner of the intersection of Lookout Drive and East Wonder Lake Road. The common address is 5211 East Wonder Lake Road, Wonder Lake, Illinois, Township of McHenry. Tax ID or PIN would be 0906455029. The property is currently designated single-family residential, and the adjacent land uses would be single-family residential to the north, south, east, and the west. The current zoning is R1 single-family residential /LN. Adjacent zoning would be the same, R1 single-family residential /LN to both the north, south, east, and west. And on the 2030 plan, the property is designated residential on the 2030 plan. Municipal plans within 1.5 miles would be Greenwood, no designation, nor would Ringwood have a designation. Wonder Lake would say that this should be residential. The property is improved with a 2-story brick and frame residence and an asphalt concrete driveway and a concrete patio and probably a pool. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that for somebody back there?
I'm sorry?
Is that for somebody back there?
Yes.
Okay.
And 2 more.
And to my knowledge, there are no violation on the property, is that correct?
Correct.
And when did you install the fence?
We replaced an existing fence. That was last summer. It was, I believe, June of last summer when we applied for the fence, and we had it replaced at that time. You can see with the pictures that we have a privacy fence going around most of my yard, and then the existing that we're requesting to have finished, we have 50-50 currently, as we were told we had to. But we would like to finish that as a privacy fence.
Can you explain the 50-50?
Yes, because that is the effective street yard between the house and the north property line had to be left open 50% for it to be considered an open fence. Solid fences in the street yard require variance, which is why she's trying to put that down.
But
Correct.
the fact that they have a pool, to me, a 50-50 fence isn't the safest of things.
So it meets the height and requirements for the barrier. I believe the pool wall itself qualifies for the barrier because of the height. Is that correct?
Yes.
It was 54 inches, I believe. So the pool wall itself acts as the barrier.
Okay. Because a small child could technically squeeze through the 50-50 portion of the fence, I would think.
Yes.
I don't know how many inches there are.
I'm assuming you've had a small child do that.
We have a small child neighbor who lives across the street from us, so that is a big reason why we are wanting to do the privacy as well.
Okay. And you live on a corner lot, correct?
I do, yes.
And you have a street both to the eastern side of your property and also to the northern, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's the fact that you're on a second street to the north, that's what triggers part of the problem. You've got to be 50 feet off, correct?
Correct, yes.
You really can't do that based on the location of your house and where your pool is, correct?
Correct.
And did you find it challenging to find a level spot to put the pool?
No, yes, we had to dig into the yard to have the pool.
Okay. You live in a somewhat of a hilly neighborhood.
We have a hilly house.
It's not particularly relevant, but if one continues west on your street, how does one get up that hill in the wintertime?
That is difficult to get up that hill. You have to definitely have 4-wheel drive. It is not a very busy road, that side road.
It is somewhat busy, though, the property or the road to the east of you. That street's fairly busy, is it not?
Wonder Lake Road?
Yes.
Yes, that is busy.
And you brought a neighbor with you,
Yes.
and who are you, sir?
Kyle Brockett.
And where do you live in reference to the property in question?
I live east on the other side of the main road.
Across the street.
Across the street.
Where his house is, he is across the street from that side
So if you come
road.
out your front door and across the street, I'd be on his property?
Yeah, our houses basically face each other.
Okay. And what's your opinion about their request?
I think it's totally something that should be done, you know, and it's a privacy fence, and I agree with you where I think it's unsafe too, because I work as a pool builder, and I know a big thing on a lot of the counties that we go to in towns, they don't want lateral things where kids can put their feet on to step up and climb over the fence. And with that sitting there, you have 3 lateral spots where they can step up and climb right over the fence. Or when you have it solid, they have no way of sticking their foot on something to climb over.
And when you say a solid fence, would the missing boards go between the existing boards, or would they go on the other side of the fence?
They would go within the existing.
Okay, so it would be a solid.
Yeah.
Yes. It would be a privacy fence.
Yeah, that's how it is on the rest of it.
And I noticed you did have your signage posted, correct?
Yes.
Have you had any neighbors complain at all?
No.
And you would agree that you'd not be blocking traffic because you're still quite a ways off that road to the north, correct?
Yes, correct.
If you can take a look at the paperwork that was passed out, to see if you were paying attention. I'm used to being ignored. Isn't it true, I emphasize, the particular surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property involved would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out? Isn't that true?
It is true.
Isn't it also true that the conditions upon which the application for a variation are based are unique to the property for which the variation is sought and are not generally applicable to other property within the same zoning district? Isn't that true?
It is true.
And your request is somewhat required because you live on a corner lot, correct?
Correct.
And isn't it also true that the purpose of the variation is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the monetary gain realized on property? Isn't that true?
True.
You want to try to protect your property and make it safer for the people
Yes.
in reference to the pool. Isn't it also true that the alleged difficulty or hardship is caused by the ordinance and has not been created by any person presently having any interest in the property? Isn't that true?
It is true.
You are in compliance with the existing ordinance, but you wish to make it even safer for your property, and that's the reason for your request.
Yes.
Isn't it also true that the granting of the variation will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located? Isn't that true?
Yes.
And you're really trying to do this to make sure that your property is safe, correct?
Yes, correct.
Isn't it also true that the proposed variation will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, or substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, or increase the danger of fire, or endanger the public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values within the adjacent neighborhood? Isn't that true?
It is true.
Can I see the picture of the house again, and the fence?
As you see, our neighbor's porch actually even comes out further than my fence.
That was the point I was going to raise.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine, you anticipated, that's good. Because you really don't stick out any farther than your neighbor to the west.
Correct.
Okay. Is it also true that the granting of the variation requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this ordinance to other land or structure of the same zoning district? Isn't that true?
True.
And you do have a bit of an unusual street because it is very hilly. And people, I would assume, have some difficulty speeding down that street, correct?
Correct.
And they all know or anticipate that they're coming up to a major road, the one that is to the east of your house.
Correct.
And you're not going to in any way impede any sight lines.
No.
And as you mentioned, your neighbor's property does stick out a little bit farther than what your fence would do, correct?
Correct.
And you still have a fair amount of distance between the end of the fence and your northern property line, isn't that true?
That is true.
Staff?
That was everything I was gonna mention. I have nothing further.
It's the quietest you've been in months. So I guess if she's so quiet and she's so satisfied, I may as well say that I also agree with it. I would approve your request.
Thank you.
Okay.
this will go to the county board on July 18th,
Okay, and you said at 7 p.m.
7 p.m., yep. But
Okay.
you do not need to be there.
Okay,
Yeah, you really don't have to be there. It should be on the consent agenda.
okay.
Good luck.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Thank
Job,
you.
David.
Have a nice afternoon.
I have just one last question.
Yes.
Isn't the basketball hoop a little bit premature for the one back there?
Well, like I said, we got two other ones. So
Yeah.
we got one that tries to do the basketball hoop. As much as he's out there practicing, you would think he was better. But yeah, and then we have another one who is actually at Bradley in Peoria. He's pre-med right now.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank
They
you.
do grow